Hi, everyone. Can you hear me in the back? Great. So, I want to start this talk by asking you to close your eyes. Come on, don't be shy, close your eyes. Now, imagine that you are working on a feature you really want to merge to main branch already. You've been doing the work, investing your time, adding unit tests and everything, and you just want to get this approval for your PR, and then you get the following message. Open your eyes. A fun person to work with, right? So how will it make you feel? Frustrating, right? And I don't know what about you, but I don't want to work with a person that gives that kinds of comments. I'm sure that we've been all working with some kind of person throughout our career. There's always someone who's a bit jerky and can leave those kind of messages. So it also can affect. I can see you. You've worked with such a person. You are that person, right? Just joking. So it can be really frustrating. It can cause you to lose productivity because you were so excited about the feature you're going to merge the main branch, and then suddenly you get this code is crap, so not really nice. So today I'm going to talk about code review. As a senior software engineer, I've been working in the industry for over a decade. Yeah, I know I'm that old. And I've seen many code review practices. And today I'm going to share with you the best practices I have seen when working in the industry that could improve your productivity, quality of code, and delivery time. So let's start. Imagine now you are on the other side. You're not the one who creates the PR. You are the reviewer. And you get this kind of PR. You have 100 file changes, this amount of line changes. I'm not sure what about you, but I don't want to be the reviewer for this kind of code, right? It can be really frustrating. I would probably put it off as late as I can, just not to having to deal with going through so many file changes. And also, I might look like this, and even like this, right? And it's not only that it's not fun to review so many lines of code, it's also risky, right? Because it can it can cause a conversation ping pong. Now, this is a real life ping pong. It's fun and everything, but just imagine you have this kind of conversation in the PR, how many ping pong you're gonna have about, change this, change that, like so many lines of code. There are probably going to be a long conversation, a long ping pong between the reviewer and the creator of the PR. So we really want to avoid it and keep the ping pong for real life, for the game. So, and of course, where we are creating that much changes, we also are risking introducing new bugs and breaking existing functionality. So it's a bit problematic. And just imagine that you have other pull requests in line. You know, when we're working on a feature, you change a certain file, but your other team members working on the same file because they have a different feature they need to, to add to the code. And then, like, their PR gets merged first. So what happens? You have to pull from the main branch and handle all the merge conflict, and then you too look like this, right? It's really frustrating. So you imagine sitting there and thinking like, oh no, I just want mine to be merged before the other colleague is merged because I don't want to deal with this shitty code conflicts, right? It's really headache. So we should really avoid it. How to avoid it? Take the task you have to handle and just break it into smaller tasks. Don't do the entire feature right ahead. Break it to smaller, manageable tasks. That way, your PR would look something like that. Much better, right? So, and then you make it simple, make it appealing for your colleague. The development cycle is faster. So it's really, and it also reduces the risk of breaking functionality and introducing new bugs. Another thing you can do, anybody recognize one of the people here. We have him as a speaker. Where is Jonathan over there? So we have this tradition of doing dry runs in the hotels before the talk. So whenever you create a PR, give context. Explain to your teammates what was the change, why it was required. Add a relevant link to the bug tickets or the feature ticket. Include all the relevant information that is important for them to understand to see the full picture, to understand the context. It's really important. It makes the PR more efficient. And you can even create a template in GitHub. How many of you use Git templates? It's great, right? So it looks for those of you who don't know it, you should go to the repository in GitHub and add the following template. For example, this is a recommended example. You can choose whatever example that you like. You can, of course, add emoji to make it more fun. You can also have this kind of checkbox to notify whether you added unit test or not. Then you have this preview. And when you submit a code, you automatically get this kind of structure, this kind of template. This will help you remind you what you need to include when you are creating a pull request, which is really great. Not only that, it will remind you to add unit test. How many of you love unit testing? I don't like it so much, but Jonathan, Jonathan is a fan. So. And this is how it will look in the preview. And you can see here that gives it context. It's really nice that you, as a reviewer, to get something like this when you know what was the changes. And if you have a UI changes, you can also add a before and after picture. So it's really great. And another thing you can do to improve the code review is to set the rules and manage the expectation. Any of you don't have code review process in the workplace? Good, because sometimes we are maybe working at a startup and we are the only full stack developer and stuff like that. So we should really set and manage the expectation of the entire team. We can decide, put it in the wrong place. We can specify whether we should assign the PR to the entire team. We can have a mailing list to include the entire team members. That way, whenever you push a PR, everyone on the team gets this annoying message, there is a PR waiting for your review. Or you can assign it to a specific person if you like. But you really need to have those kind of standards, specify how many reviewers do you need for the PR to be merged. It's really important for collaboration, for efficiency. If you also have in GitHub a way to set the rules. You can click here or go to the settings of your repository. You can see you can define a rule set. And you can also request a pull request. You need a review. You don't want to merge just to the main branch without having anybody else look at your code, because it's risky. You want to ensure that the quality of the code is good, that your code is readable to other teammates. So that's the way it looks. You can specify that you want at least 2 reviewers for a risky feature, for example. And if you're talking about standard, another thing that is good to add is prettier. So I'm going to have to ask you to, just a second, scan this PR and answer the question. What is your favorite quotation marks to use? Don't worry, it's anonymous. I won't know if you chose double quotes or single quotes. I hope it will work. I will hide the result. Ready to see the result? Yeah. Where is it? Okay, single, nice, my favorite choice. Great. Why did I choose to mention it? Because I got a comment in the dry run to edit, because it's very important to keep this standard. Why? Do you know the feeling that you get a PR, you see a lot of file changes, a lot of code changes, and then you are thinking, oh my God, I don't want to review it. But then you look at the code only to realize that all those changes are due to different spacing or different use of a comment or quotes or whatever, just because another team members use a certain preference in his or her environment. So it can cause a lot of frustration, and it's not really the main focus. The main focus is the line of code that you changed for the feature and not for the styling. So it's really good to align the standards. So thanks. And you know, when we develop certain features, in some agile methodologies, in some development, we use the Kanban method. Everybody are familiar with Kanban? Okay, so for those of you who are not, it's a method that you have all the tasks ready for development in a certain column without assigning to any specific team members. And then whenever a team member finishes working on a task, it just grabs one that is waiting for review, waiting for dev, and then he go ahead and implements it. So the same approach can be used in pull request. We have this all this PR waiting for our teams to review. We already set the PR for the entire team, and now we can select whenever we are free, whoever is free. I just finished working on a feature, then I can grab a PR from the list that waiting for review and review it. The same way I do with development. So it keeps the work flowing, and there is no bottleneck, and it improves the development pace. And if we are assigning it to the team, the best way is to communicate in the Slack channel, because some of us ignores mailing from GitHub, like we put it on mute or whatever. So it's really good to communicate that you have a PR waiting for review. As a team, you need to set, for example, the amount of time and PR should wait for review. And if you see that nobody assign the review to themselves, it's a really good thing to give your teammate a reminder, hey, listen, Noam, I want you to check my PR because I really want to click on the merge button. So could you please help me? And you need to be aware of the bystander effect. I study psychology, and you're all probably familiar with the bystander effect without studying psychology. This effect claims that the more people there are in the surrounding, the less likely it is for people to offer help to a person in need. So if you assign the PR to the entire team, what will happen? Like everybody from the team will think like, probably Tejas will look at my PR, or will look at the PR, so I don't have to do that. Or maybe Catherine will look at the PR, so I can leave it like this, and somebody from the team will pick it up. But it usually doesn't work like this. You need to like approach a person, like ask them, hey, listen, so can you review my PR? I really want to push that button, not the red one, the green one. So be aware of it. And for a risky feature, it's always good to get a second opinion. You want to make sure that the code quality is good. You don't want to break any existing functionality. Sometimes there are critical features you are developing. You don't want to take the risk. And it's also good to have a second opinion, because then other people will get familiar with the code base, will know what you're working for, will know what you're developing. Just think, for example, that your colleague is here. She's listening to, in ConfrontJS, listening to the talks, and she merged yesterday the feature she's been working on. It's a critical feature. Everybody was waiting for it. And then suddenly you get this beep, you get a phone call from your manager, and like you put it on mute because you're in the middle of the conference, you don't want to get distracted. But then you see, I have a bug in production, what do I do? But what if other team members are familiar with the feature? They can have your back, right? They can take this code, they can take this bug and really fix it because they're familiar with it. They review the code, so you can have somebody you can count on because other team members are familiar with it. So it's really great also for those kind of cases. Then you can stay on ConfrontJS, listen to the talk without having to worry that, there's a bug in production and I'm the only one. I know it's great for job security, don't get me wrong, but it's best to have another person available to fix it. And I want to talk about another thing. Everybody talks about work-life balance. How many hours do you work? Do we have happy hours in the company, etc.? But what about code review balance, right? Because code review and the context switch consumes time. And we are also here to, like in workplace, we're working on our own feature. And we need to balance between our interest to promote our own feature and to help our colleague also merge their feature to production, right? And did you know the context switch, it takes up until 25 minutes to regain focus again. So think about you're working on a feature, then you switching on to check the code for your team, and then suddenly you get distracted, you want to focus on your thing again, and then you're pulled out to a meeting. All this context switch, you wasted a lot of time just switching in between tasks, and don't get me started of the task of choosing what to eat for lunch, and then getting back to work, and then going to lunch, and then getting back to the PR. So you get my point, right? So schedule wisely. If you have, for example, a meeting, and you have this like half an hour in between meeting, what is wiser? To do the PR. We said that the PRs are now tiny, right? So half an hour should be good enough for review? Yeah. But working on a feature, half an hour is not that great. Until you regain focus on your task, you'll be pulled out of it just to go to another boring meeting that could have been an email. So schedule wisely. Don't schedule the PR over lunch. Lunch is important. And make sure that you schedule according to your availability, according to your own interest as well. Keep that code review balance in check. And consider availability. You know, you can start doing a PR, then what happens if you have any questions? You need to make sure that the creator of the PR is available, whether on Slack, on Zoom, whatever. We are going hybrid this nowadays. So make sure to consider those as well, because you don't want to get started on the review at 9 p.m. or whatever working hours you do and not having any person to ask about it. And be kind. Remember, it's really easy to write comments using the keyboard, but there is a person behind it, right? So I want to ask you, be honest, it's anonymous. Wait, I need to drag it over here. I have another question. What is the worst comment you got or given in a PR? You can be honest. Don't worry, it's anonymous, have you seen before? You can take an inspiration from the comments we saw at the beginning of the talk. Ready to see the result? Okay. So in a word cloud, the comment that got the most is more frequent gets a larger font. This was a mistake hiring you. You're working with nice people. You've made it worse. Garbage. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you got this or you wrote this, so I hope you're not the one who got. I'm not sure what is worst, actually. If you're the guy who wrote this kind of stuff to your colleague or if you received it. Not sure in which place I want to be honest. Oh, okay. So, let's move. So remember to be kind. You want to work in a respectful environment. Even if you think that the code is crappy, find a nicer way to say the same thing, but in a respectful way. Because we are people, we work with people until AI will replace us, you know. So be kind. Remember to be kind. And this is, how many of you develop in React? React. Other framework libraries? Okay, so we have React fans. So you're probably familiar that when you try to improve performance, you can use Memo to wrap your components, but sometimes it doesn't work as expected because maybe we passed from the parents to the children that we memorized, we pass a function, but we forgot to wrap the function in a use callback. So it will cause the child to re-render even though we wrap it in memo, right? So I can be a jerk and leave this kind of message, like it seems that you don't really realize how memorization works if you forgot to use context and wrap the function, use callback. And I can be a nice person and leverage it as an opportunity to teach my colleague. It depends, like, if I think he just happens to forgot about it, or if maybe this is a junior developer who is not that familiar to React, maybe he's just switched to React, and I can leave a more, a nicer and respectful comment explaining how the memorization works, why it can work better, what did you forget, and add even additional reference to the documents that will explain the PR. So we can really leverage the PR to be kind of mentors to other teammates, to improve their skills, to improve their knowledge, and take it as an opportunity. So, any volunteer to say, how would you review the following code? Any volunteers? What comments will you leave? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, can you write a jerky message? What will be your jerky kind of comments to it? Good one. Nice. And a nicer way to say it? Use that pie, it's more readable, it's more explainable. You know the feeling that you write code and then you get back to it later and you think, who wrote this garbage code? And then you do git blame or whatever and you see, I wrote this. I don't even remember that I wrote this, and it's so unreadable, oh my God. So, thank you. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. As reviewers, we have the responsibility to leverage the code review as a teaching opportunity. And we can also leverage it to teach ourselves. Like, we can really learn. Like, if I read your code review, if I do code review for you and you like coded something that I really find like it improves the performance of something, I can really learn from each other. We can really learn from it, right? Because we see different kind of styles, we see different way to approach things. So it's another opportunity to learn from each other. And what can we see as a teaching opportunity? We can add comments about clean code when needed, like in the matpy we can use. We can add maybe comments for better practices, or for performance improvement, or for recommended design patterns. And it's a really great way to improve also the quality of the code and also to grow professionally. So, and if we are the one who wrote the code, we need to leverage it for the professional growth. So that was the talk. And if you want to summarize version of it with all the details and all the best practices, you can scan this QR to a blog post that summarizes everything.
This talk listen, practical advice with real situations. I think this was very valuable. Please, everyone, before I make my final announcement, can we give a really big hand to Keren Kenzi for this talk?